Hello, human animal earthlings. It's great to have you joining us on Radio Free Georgia's In Tune to Nature program. I'm host Carrie Freeman, coming to you from Atlanta in early December of 2025. And I'm excited today that we're going to be talking with an amazing Southern poet, professor, and writing teacher, Nickole Brown, about her love for fellow animals and how she translates that into poetry that reads like essays. I'll read a few lines from her bio that give you a taste for her writing style. It says, since 2016, she's been writing about these animals, resisting the kind of pastorals that made her and many of the working class folks from the Kentucky area that raised her feel shut out of nature and the writing about it. Her work speaks in a Southern trash talking way about nature. Beautiful, damaged, dangerous, and in desperate need of saving. End quote. On the show today, we'll have her read to us from a few of her award-winning books, To Those Who Were Our First Gods, and another one is called The Donkey Elegies, an essay in poems. And she'll tell us about her Hellbender gathering of poets that she started in the Asheville, North Carolina region, named after the Hellbender salamander from the Appalachia region where she grew up in Kentucky. Although she also has spent many years in South Florida, as did I. Her website is Nickole Brown, org, and her first name has a C and a K in it because they're both great letters. So why not put them together? It's Nickole Brown.org. Welcome, Nickole.
Hi, Carrie. Thank you for having me.
Nickole, let me tell listeners how we got introduced. Our mutual friend and a friend of the In Tune to Nature show, Frances Feigert, put us in touch because she knew we were both animal lovers and writers, and she lives out near you in Western North Carolina and heads up the Smokies Life creative team that supports the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. I know Frances is an animal and eco advocate too. Is that how you all met, or was it through your role as writers?
Both, really. And actually, I'm getting ready to have coffee with her tomorrow.
Oh,
So
I'm jealous.
she's one of my favorite people. I think one of the early conversations we had was about the work she's doing with Safe Passages,
Yes.
which is trying to build and advocate for a wildlife crossing across a very busy interstate we have here in the mountains.
Yeah, that I-40 highway.
Mhm.
I got to go on it when I was traveling from Gatlinburg to Asheville. I went on that I-40, and you are going really fast. I mean, it,
Yeah.
I see what they're talking about. It's the only time I've been there. And yeah, I did interview Frances about the Safe Passage program that her and a lot of folks have been working on in North Carolina and Tennessee. So I hope that effort is progressing to get a some kind of passageway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, she's incredible, and of course, is doing the Smoky's Life Journal, and also has some gatherings here for writers in the mountains, and she's wonderful.
Yeah. Now, Francis was telling me that you volunteer at animal sanctuaries like Animal Haven of Asheville. I know I visited there once, and they have a lot of rescued farmed animals. Is that animal sanctuary experience what got you interested in eating mostly vegetarian foods, or was it like vice versa, like you're vegetarians and then you started going to sanctuaries? Like, how did all that inspiration and compassion for animals come together for you?
I stopped eating animals when I was 15,
Wow.
so
Wow.
it's been a good long while. I really threw my family for a loop.
Yeah, yes.
I've thrown
They
them a
were
lot.
still cooking for you, and you decided, I don't want to eat what you're cooking. That's hard.
Yeah, yeah, but I was just a kiddo. I got a job working at a burger joint where they ground their own meat,
Oh,
and it was very clear to me. But just then I was like, nope,
yeah.
nope, can't do this. But yes, so since I moved here since 2016, I do volunteer at Animal Haven of Asheville when I can, even though I stay very busy.
Yeah.
And I also lend a hand at an equine sanctuary
Oh,
called Heart of Horse Sense. And I haven't been there in a while, but it's a place that I really love, an organization, Appalachian Wildlife Rescue,
oh, nice.
which rehabs injured and orphaned wildlife. So basically, just any excuse that I can get to be near our more than human cousins, you know.
That's awesome. And then our radio listeners can't see this, but we're on Zoom right now, and sometimes her dog wanders in the background, and my dog Elliot is sleeping in the background too. So there's domesticated animals we're talking about that are companion animals. There's farmed animals we'll be talking about, and then you also work with wild and free living animals. So that's a great diversity.
I just like to be around them any way I possibly
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. Well, tell us about the inspiration for your chapbook that's called To Those Who Were Our First Gods. Like, what were you wanting to express?
Yeah, so that chapbook, the poems for that started when I moved here to Asheville, and one of the things I wanted to do is that my first two books were primarily about family. They were about my childhood in Kentucky. I also have a book that is a biography and poems about my grandmother.
Nice.
So, and I had decided, and this was pretty far along in my writing career, that I wanted to turn my focus from just my life, my stories and whatnot, and use what I had to give voice to more than human animals. Um, and that was really important to me. And certainly the volunteer work was at the crux of that because I don't think that poems can come from the body. Of course, I will nerd out about
Yeah.
reading about them all day long, but I needed to be in their presence and to listen to them and to learn from them.
And I really love the title. Like to me, it imparts such prestige onto them to say to those who were our first gods.
Yes. Well, and they
Yeah.
were. I mean, I think if you go back to cave paintings, if you go back to a lot of more indigenous cultures
Right.
and whatnot, there is an eye always to the outside world, to the wild world, to say like, what can you teach me? Who are you? And I revere you.
Yeah,
And
I love that humility.
yeah, and we've lost that. And
Definitely.
that's something that I think about all the time.
Now, the cover art is by Tiffany Bozick. It's so provocative for your book, To Those Who Were Our First Gods. For our radio listeners, I'll explain that it looks like illustrations of animal faces of lots of different species, but sometimes half of their faces are kind of like removed, so we see the flesh, bones, and muscles inside them. And this is an illustration, not a photograph. So, Nicole, tell us about that artistic visual choice for the book cover.
Well, I am absolutely in love with Tiffany's paintings. I started up a correspondence with her. I feel like she paints what I wish I could draw. And that is, sort of a stripped down, inside out version, not just of animals, but what it is to perhaps be them, to be made as they are, to exist as they are. And her paintings are they're just extraordinary.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at her work for a very long time. And she also illustrated the Donkey Elegies. Now that image is just of a donkey on the cover of that book. But um, I wanted a depiction of a donkey that you would want to reach out and touch.
Mm.
And
I
she,
always want to do that with all donkeys, though,
oh,
because they're so
absolutely.
adorable.
Absolutely. They're the horse dogs of the world. I love them so much.
And the artist you were talking about, just I'll repeat the name, Tiffany Bozick, Bozic, and she's out of California, you were telling me.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
want to look up her books or anything.
Just beautiful work.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful work.
And Nicole, I know that you told me that the poems in the To Those Who Were Our First Gods book that you wrote, that they're rather lengthy. Can you pick out one and read it to us? And disclaimer, I know that you may have to substitute some swear words in your quote unquote Southern trash talking poetry style since we are on the broadcast radio. So I
Um,
apologize in advance for making you replace maybe a word or two for our
I
radio
know,
listeners.
Carrie, this one's pretty clean. Don't you?
Okay, all right.
Did I miss something?
Oh, no, no, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sometimes
I
I,
haven't read this poem that you're going to read to me, so it'll be new to me and to
okay.
maybe to our listeners too.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, and the interesting thing about this poem, sort of talking about Tiffany, so she put out this gorgeous coffee table book of a lot of her work. It's called Unnatural Selections. And she put mercy in the middle of it. There's no other poems in the book. But
cool.
we started up that correspondence. She wanted to include
So she
this.
took the poem Mercy from your To Those Who Were Our First God's book and then put it in her
Yeah,
book.
that's right.
Okay, and then you're gonna read that to us
Yeah.
today. Thank you.
Okay. So this is called Mercy. Speak, beast, speak. Curled suburban cuddle in front of the fireplace. Possum dreaming and paw kicking, your fur a tumbleweed down the waxed hallway, your ears cropped and your tail docked. Speak. Or how about you? Yes, you. Spotted neck stretched towards what's left of your acacia trees. Neck as long as a man's grave is deep. I need you to fire that impossible distance between your heart and tongue and speak. Speak, you barred owls with the pink tip of a poisoned mouse dangling from your beak, all your many neck bones hinged in one spot so you can pivot your blinking face to me. I am watching. I am waiting. Look at me and speak. Speak, you black snake drowsing on the hot blacktop. Your forked tongue remembering the long kiss of voles in tall grass, a memory gone when the woman runs over you. Then twice again, just to be sure. I need you to speak. Speak, you jittering squirrels, you murder of crows, you quarrel of sparrows, you pitying of turtle doves, you everyday outside flick of life at the mercy of these coming winds, these rising waters filthy and licking with flames. Speak, sing to me. Caw and fuss among what brittle branches left. I have opened my windows. I am listening. Speak. Speak, you hellbender, giant salamander you are, a rarity now put on educational display, you eel-looking haint once pulled up by fishermen in these mountains. Speak, because no one knows who you are anymore. You must make us remember. Turn your slack maw to my tapping on the bent plexiglass and speak. Say what it is you need to say. Oh, and you with your thick skull blown apart with a high caliber swagger, your memory long and your once trumpeting gone. Speak to me from beyond. Tell me what it was to have those ears of yours in fury, raised like giant gray flags, how hard you fought, and even once shot how you just stood there confused, already dead, but refusing to fall until your knees buckled, the rest of you slumped, and the giant pillars of your tusks were chainsawed from your face. I need to hear, especially from you. I have a photo here of a man grinning with your lopped off tail in his fist. I need you to speak, damn it. Speak. Say what it is you need to say. Or how about you? Kin but safe in a cage. I've heard your placid chewing at the zoo. You took a sweet potato from my hand with the wet, breathing end of your trunk, slid it into the deep socket of your mouth. I know that sound. I smiled at your keeper, fed you another treat, but now I need for you to speak. Try it. Swallow down that food and flex your tongue. Push out the grassy air from those miraculous lungs. I am waiting. We are all waiting. I am begging. Please, beast, speak. We are running out of time. There are so many of us, and what's left of you are swaying in pins, rocking from side to side, sleeping and aching and craving and thinking. I know you are thinking, but not saying a damn word. No, not one. Not one, which is all we need, I swear. All of you, you birds and cicadas, all you flying, leaping, vine-grabbing canopy beings, all you furred and quilled things too, or you chittering in your burrows and hiding in the dark, step from the mouth of your dens and speak. Listen to me. You belong here. You with a mouth full of milk, with dirt under your claws, all of you rooting and panting and hibernating and ruminating and standing by the fence watching us speed past in our cars. Listen to me. I need you to try. Try to say just one word. We can start slow with the low pleasure sound, the delicious that closes the door to home. Then growl out that middle vowel and what comes after. Let the back of your throat issue forth a warning and mean it. Get angry with me because you've had enough. Because if you don't find these words, there will be nothing left. Now you're almost there. Pull back your lips if you have them. Show your teeth if you have them. Hiss, let out all the air, whatever air is left, and in doing so, take us back to all our beginnings with the sound of waves, with that final syllable, see. Now try again. Try again. Try, please try. All at once is such a small word on which your lives depend. I'll do anything. Please, beast, speak, say it with me now. Mercy, 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 mercy. Now, please, try. Try again. Repeat after me.
Wow. Thank you for reading that. I almost like that I'm listening to it for the first time because like as you're talking at first, I'm wondering, oh, what should they say? Because from the beginning you mention all these different animals and you're begging them to speak and to say what they need to say. So at first I'm thinking, oh, they're gonna say something in their own language and they're gonna cry out. And then, like, as you build towards the end, we see that you're wanting them to cry out a word that we understand, or we should understand, mercy.
Yes.
And the word that would imply what is true, that we are oppressing them and that they're begging us for mercy, even though we don't like to think of ourselves as oppressive. But that's kind of what I'm hearing here.
Well, and not always oppressive, but I mean, certainly how we think of a species, whether we love them or abhor them or revere them or think that they are vermin or on and on and on, because of the situation that we are in. We dictate the future of entire generations to come, you know? And the trick of that poem in particular is that oftentimes, if I'm reading this in front of a live audience, um, I will say to them before I begin, there is a word that I want you to say at the end of this poem. And so the repetition of mercy, 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 and I will continue to say mercy on stage until I look up and see that those sitting in front of me have said that word themselves. And to understand that so many decisions that they make in their lives um, are a reflection either for or against having mercy for other beings. And it's not just about what you eat, it's about, how you drive and what
Yes.
you wear and what you buy and how you vote and on and on and on and on.
Oh, yeah, that would be so cool to be there live and then it turns into a performance, at the end with everybody chiming in. That's really a powerful way to end it. And like I wrote down when you were talking about the black snake and you mentioned driving that maybe some humans want to run over them. At first, I didn't know if you meant like with the lawnmower or something that it was an accident, but then when you said she drove again a couple times on purpose, like she's trying to kill the snake because she thinks they shouldn't be around, which that is the attitude that some people have, like, oh, see a snake, just kill him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, people are
Scared.
very
And
afraid of them.
yeah, and
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes they run over them on purpose. But I mean, one thing that I do see at Appalachian Wildlife Refuge is the number of animals that are admitted to the facility that have been hit.
yes.
And on and on. I mean, you just wouldn't believe.
Yeah. I had the guy, I think his last name is Goldfarb, who wrote the book Crossings, which is kind of about what we were talking about earlier, the safe passage movement and just how roads have impacted animals, wild, free living animals worldwide. And I was just astounded at the many ways that they're negatively impacted by our roads. But the most obvious and visible way is when we physically hit them with our vehicles, and then they're dead all around us on the road without any kind of ceremony or graves or anything. They're just like unceremoniously off to the side of the road. But then I guess sometimes they're able to be rescued and then they get taken to the wildlife rehab, and people like you and your friends there can kind of nurse them back to health at
Mhm.
times because we are obligated to do that given that we're the ones choosing to drive around in what becomes a weapon, but that's not what we mean for our cars and vehicles to be, but they end up being like a weapon.
Yeah, well, and the language matters. The fact that when they're struck, they're often called roadkill.
Yes.
That it's not, an animal who has been killed by a car. It's just
Yes.
roadkill. And uh, you know, and there's so much to consider there, and something that I didn't realize when I first started to help with Appalachian Wildlife Refuge. So like you have like an apple core or something you think is perfectly fine to pitch out your window.
Right, because it's organic. So you're like, oh, I'm not
It
polluting.
hurt, but of course, you throw that out your window and then it attracts the small animals who eat that fruit. And then, of course, the larger animals that then will eat
And
those
they
animals.
get attracted to the roadside because of the
And
food.
yeah, yeah, and then that's how sometimes you end up with, owls and vultures and all animals that live
Yeah.
in.
And then there was also a part in the poem where you were implying that there were hunters, and I think you were talking about an elephant when you're
Yes,
talking about his head being kind of blown away, but then his tusks being taken off.
yes.
Um, and that was just also very powerful because hunting just really, yeah, it bothers me so much. But particularly when it's not being done, because I know that other wild animals hunt. other animals because if they need to eat, that there's a predation that's natural. But most of the time that humans are hunting, it's not because they're trying to feed themselves and keep themselves from starving, especially not in killing elephants because they're not going to eat them. They're just wanting some kind of victory over,
Well, that's
somebody.
money.
Yeah.
Those tusks are worth it. A lot of money.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah,
Because
yeah.
at first I didn't know I could picture so many different animals, and I was thinking of a deer at first when I was hearing you. And
Mm.
until it got maybe to the tusks, I didn't know who it was. Because you can fill in the blank in your mind of so many individuals who are getting shot
Yeah, and that was
on purpose.
the quiet little exercise behind that poem was describing different animals without naming them
Yes. Okay.
because I wanted the reader to be disoriented for just a minute because I thought, you know what, once the reader knows this is a possum, this is a giraffe, this is an elephant, this, right, all the mini creatures that I go through, I didn't want them to be like, oh yeah, yeah, I know I know who that is.
Yeah. Or either I do or don't like the snake, the giraffe, or the
Yeah,
different
yeah. So I
animals.
thought if I strip those categories, those names that we have
Yes.
given them away, perhaps it might wake the reader up to the reality of that being a little bit
Yeah.
better. That was the idea behind that.
And I like that you said, we're all waiting, we're running out of time, and there's so many of us, and there's so few of you. And then you said something like, but a lot of you are in cages, and because I feel so upset that we're replacing other animals with ourselves and our farmed animals. We're replacing all these wild animals that deserve to be here. And most of us are not trying to do that or we're not thinking about it. It's just happening because we don't care enough to stop it, from happening. So maybe if you could just speak to that for a minute, including that notion about population in there. You
Yeah,
didn't use the word population, but it's just like inherently there.
yeah, I was reading something, and I might, forgive me, I might get the number wrong, but it said that only 3% of the biomass of animals are
Yeah.
actually wild creatures. The
Yeah, I
rest,
think it was 4% because I know exactly what you're talking about, and that is it's insanely small.
it was
4% of the
insane. Yes,
biomass are wild animals.
very low. And then the rest, of course, are humans
Yeah.
and farm
And
animals.
mostly, yeah, are mammal livestock, presumably mostly cows, but there would also be sheep and goats there too. But yes.
Yes,
So
yes.
that is us replacing wild animals with ourselves and the other animals we're raising just for ourselves.
Yes.
And
Well,
that
think
is
about it. Like,
insane.
so we're thinking about our pets and our food sources,
Yeah.
and the rest are, well, they're wild animals. They can take care of themselves. Well, no, actually, they can't. Not in this particular situation, and unless their land and their resources are protected. And especially when you're dealing with the climate crisis, you have animals
Yes.
facing things that they have never faced before. And they do absolutely need our help,
Yes.
just like with the wildlife crossings, something that always really bothered me is that people would say like, oh, armadillos are so stupid, they'll just jump right in front of a car. Or, well, but you think about the millions and millions of years of evolution
Yeah.
to form a creature. Well, hey, you know what? Cars haven't been around that long. You
Right.
so, I do think that,
Blaming the victim a lot
sure.
by saying they're stupid and they can't just adjust to us plowing through their trails with our massive, dangerous vehicles.
Yeah, or the implications of a deer in headlights. You know,
Yeah, like they're
they're
stupid or
frozen and they're
something.
stuck because, they're somehow less than. Well,
Yeah.
they're not made for this.
Let me reintroduce you uh, to our listeners. If you're just joining us on Radio Free Georgia, this is In Tune to Nature, and I'm host Carrie Freeman talking with writing teacher and poet Nickole Brown about her award-winning poetry books, that express care and compassion for fellow animals. Her website is NicoleBrown.org. Her first name is spelled with a C-K in it, Nickole Brown.org. Nickole is also the executive director of the Hellbender Gathering of Poets in the North Carolina mountains. Nickole, another one of your books is a unique series of poems that form an essay about donkeys, a living being we humans have historically misused as a so-called quote unquote beast of burden. But I think that donkeys are so much more than that, and they deserve so much more from us. Tell us about your inspiration for your book, The Donkey Elegies, where there's some donkeys at some of the sanctuaries that you volunteer at.
Yeah, so the inspiration for the Donkey Elegies got its start from my first job volunteering, and that was at the Nature Center here in Asheville, the North Carolina Nature Center, and it was really kind of comical because when I went in, I had every hope and expectation to work with the charismatic species they have there. They have some black bears, they have some otters, raccoons, and I was
Wow, yeah.
I can't wait. This is going to be so much fun. And of course, coming in as a poet, they said, what experience do you have? And I'm like, I'm here. And they said, well,
Nothing.
here's a shovel. Now go work in the petting area, which is basically sheep, goats, and donkeys. And I was so disappointed.
Yeah.
And but it was exactly where I needed to be because I
Oh.
think that like a lot of people, I had this caricature of donkeys in my mind. I had, without really being able to articulate it, had dismissed them
Hmm.
as sort of stubborn, relatively difficult animals. And so I was put in an area with two donkeys, Willie and Eeyore, and I absolutely fell in love with them. And at the same time, I started to read about donkeys and learned all of these things, such as, thinking about the building of civilization
Mm.
as we know it was on a donkey's back.
Right.
In those early days, they're sure-footed, they're strong, they're desert animals. And to think that we've gotten to this place where the most useful of us have been dismissed as the least worthy
Mm.
is absolutely fascinating to me. And that this is at one point where I really started to think about the place from which I had come in Kentucky and to think about working class folks, people building your homes and unclogging your pipes and cleaning and how then do we think about
Mm.
those people? Do we revere them? Are we grateful for them? Well, no, mostly we're dismissive. And what is it in us that does that? And so this book sort of became my way of really thinking about the psychology behind that.
That's a great parallel with just kind of to define in a way the working class as including other animal species along with humans. I think that's very profound. Well, Nicole, will you read one or two poems for us, maybe about 5 minutes worth from your Donkey Elegies book?
Sure, sure.
Thank you.
And to let you know, so this is an essay, but it's an essay in poems, and they're told in these short, numbered prose poems, these sort of propositions of sorts, and I'll just read a couple of them for you. And I'll start with the first one because anyone who has been around donkeys knows that their ears are
Mm.
so ears like sugar scoops. Ears like hands cupped to cradle a cool drink from the creek. Ears like single petals of dahlias at full bloom, curled, firmly upright, but always soft, always open. Furred periscopes, one pivots to the wheezing scream of a squirrel above, and I follow, hear as if for the first time that common arboreal cry, neither chirp nor growl, but something in between, like the caw of a mother blue jay stoked behind the teeth of an old yard dog. Your other ear, blessed as I am, rotates towards me. Sweet apricots, velvet satellites, the twin souls atop the head of every donkey. Now I'll skip to the sixth poem here. Fur the color of fawn grass, long bending, done in by the sun, or else fur the carbonated gray of fog so thick it looks like the mountains here on fire with dawn. Down your neck and from shoulder to shoulder, two dark lines make an X, marks the spot, and some call those ridges eel stripes, and others say the capital F Father himself drew that crucifix across your back. But I'm not fooled into thinking your liquid blinking and Maybelline lashes make a gentle beast. Like my mama and hers before, donkeys do not scare, but stand their ground, don't take off running as those gorgeous high-class horses do. In danger, a herd will face inward to huddle around its foals, tightening a circle of go ahead and try me, daring any predator near their fatal chorus line of kicking legs. Yes, any farmer knows you're a more savage guardian than any dog, and I recognize you as one of my own. Fierce matriarch, you'll stomp a hawk near your flock of hens, chase a bear away from your bleating sheep, smash the white brains from a coyote who tries its teeth on a weaker donkey. Should I read another one or what do you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
liking these.
Let's see where I want to go. Ungulate. Such a throat stuck word. Ugly. Buried right there in its syllables, just as where I'm from. Capable is mostly a word for a woman ugly as sin, as someone who needs to be worked and worked hard. Can you see me? My once young skin fluorescent lit, a name tag pinned in my polyester shirt. Can you see the cashier who stood with me as I bagged, the brace she had to wear squeezing up rolls on her back when she reached to scan your chips and cans? Or do you see me years later asking if you want a warm-up on that coffee, if I can get you some ketchup to go with that? I went to school, found a way out, but somewhere is another me, studying the schedule at the bus stop, clutching her pocketbook to her lap, eyeing the steady river of traffic passing her with just one person in nearly every car. Do we dismiss sturdy, useful beings because we despise what we're afraid we'll become? Or is it just familiarity that breeds contempt? Foam and blood of the bit, strain of the yoke, clay so damn brain heavy and red it's bound to snap the legs that sink too deep and still try to pull. Don't say stubborn. Don't say thick or slow or capable. Bless her heart. No, say thank you. Say please. Say I see you. Now slow down. Pull over. Look out over that fence and tell me if through the rain you don't recognize. Standing there, that beautiful, necessary, weary donkey.
Oh, wow. That last poem really took it to that place that you were saying before, where you're bringing in that connection with humans who work so hard, in particular women, because you also mentioned the donkey a lot, or at least in terms of her being a matriarch. I love the Maybelline lashes, yet she's so strong, and how they fiercely protect their foals. I also like the line fatal chorus line of kicking legs that you would get if you tried to attack their foals.
Yeah,
And but then also saying,
they're
yeah,
used
we
as
oh, go
guardian.
ahead.
Yeah, they're used as guardian animals. They will protect all the animals in their care if they're
I yeah didn't know that. So yeah, or I guess we don't hear that about them, or I don't, if you're not maybe from a farming community. But then like making that connection again to the working class, and like you even seeing yourself that could be you if you had taken a different path, standing there at the bus stop being overlooked by everyone. And I like how you said, maybe do we despise them because we're afraid that we're going to become them, so we don't see how beautiful these sturdy working women, men, donkeys, how, what they are, what they offer, but maybe we don't want to work that hard or be worked that hard. So we just kind of dismiss them or something when we really could recognize their beauty if we paid more attention. Or that's what I'm getting out of it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just like appreciate how you're drawing our attention to an animal that we think is rather pedestrian or not as beautiful as like a tiger or, a panda or a parrot or something, by talking all about, their ears and their fur and their eyelashes, and then making connections with us too, and which also is another way to bestow more of a kinship with them through
That's,
that way.
I think stopping to look at any animal that we regularly laugh at,
Yeah.
and most people have got a donkey joke, and I have heard far too many of them,
Yeah, I bet.
um, or the animals that we despise.
Yeah.
Possums, for example, completely misunderstood.
Oh,
So, what is it then if we stop and reconsider? If we reconsider rats, if
yeah.
we reconsider
Yes.
so many animals, to stop and say, wait a minute, who told me that this animal was this way? Are they really?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
like how both your poems today, they've had us asking us to listen to these other animals and also to see them. So there's like an appreciation uh for what they have to give and what their agency is, and who they are. I really love that.
Mm.
Now,
Yeah.
to wrap up, do you have any parting thoughts for our radio listeners in terms of how we humans can create a better relationship with other animals? It could be through writing or otherwise. You might want to mention your Hellbender gathering of poets in case anyone's
Sure.
interested in joining into that.
Sure, sure. Very good question, and thank you for your time. Um,
Sure.
Golly. Well, so first of all, the Hellbender Gathering of Poets is a nonprofit, and it is an organization whose aim is to support poets that want to find the words to protect and repair the climate changed world. And we have some free online programming. We have some online generative writing sessions. Our next one is just next Tuesday. We're featuring the poet Kim Stafford. And then we also every year host a week-long gathering where we bring in naturalists and poets, sort of thinking about that intersection between environmental science and poetry coming together in a joyful rising during this time. So that's what keeps me busy every day, thinking about how that can happen. And just in terms of, thinking about your other question, I really think stopping to really look,
Yes.
stopping to really, really listen. Don't let birdsong be the music in the background that you have here. What are those birds saying? What are they saying to each other? Perhaps what are they saying to you? Are they full of, are they territorial calls? Are they songs of joy or fear or, just complicating things a little bit and really paying attention. And I would extend that to every animal you have an encounter with, living or dead.
Mm.
When you walk through the market and you see those plastic wrapped packages, not thinking what is in there, but who
Yes.
is in there? What animal then lost its life? Even if you partake in eating that, really thinking about what happened to bring that food to your table. Um, and I think, I mean, for me too, um, extending that compassion beyond and de-centering the human.
Oh,
Uh,
that's a great way to put it.
yeah, thinking of
Not
us,
something we usually do, or it's not something we're asked to do in a human-centered, anthropocentric world, is
right,
to have that humility to see ourselves as another animal, another earthling, and we should appreciate we're in a multicultural environment, even in the city, of other insect communities and possum communities, coyote communities, all kinds of birds and squirrels and chipmunks. And but we just kind of, for the most part, are ignoring them or
right,
ask to ignore them or see them as just an annoyance or
yeah.
something.
Or, which is something I see a lot, don't just allow that animal to become a metaphor
Mm.
for your own situation, your own emotions,
Yeah.
and allow them to be who they are and to perhaps teach you, but don't just dismiss them to say like, oh, this is a sort of a stand-in for something that I can't quite find words for because they're not props.
Yes.
They are living beings, just like you. They are animals just like you.
I'm gonna leave it there. I love that that last line, and I'm all for that, talking about us as fellow animals. Well, that's the end of our show, but I want to thank you, Nickole Brown, for being with us on Radio Free Georgia's In Tune to Nature program. Thanks for the inspiration you give to us through your straight talking poetry to reconsider our relationships with our fellow animal friends, such as donkeys and other animal individuals.
Thank you for your time, Carrie. This was lovely. And thank you for what you do. Truly.
Oh, wow, that's nice. Thank you. Yeah. It's a joy for me to have people like you on the show and for me to meet you and all these fantastic people I've met over like the 17 years that I've been doing this. I love to be able to give a voice to people I'm impressed with. So, thank you
I
for
sure
being here.
appreciate it. I like listening to you as much as being on
Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's good because I talk a lot during the show.
the.
I let you finish your poems though, so that was good for me. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to In Tune to Nature, broadcasting every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, online at wrfg.org and on Atlanta radio station 89.3 FM. I record from Atlanta in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in the Muskogee Creek Territory and former range of the Red Wolf, now home to some coyote families and a million squirrels. You can access action items, news, and podcasts on the show's website, wrfg.org/intunetonature. The views and opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect those of WRFG, its board staff, or volunteers. I'm one of those volunteers. I'm host Carrie Freeman, asking you to please support independent, non-commercial media like Radio Free Georgia at wrfg.org. And remember to take care of yourself and others, including other species, like donkeys. Thank you for listening. Cheers.
That looks like some kind of hawk here in Inman Park, Atlanta.